It had been almost 2 years since I last set foot in my grandfather's old lake house. City life had me tethered to construction sites, endless meetings, and the kind of stress that makes you forget what fresh air smells like. The thought of driving 3 hours to sweep out cobwebs from a creaky old house always got shoved to the bottom of my to-do list. But this time, I wasn't dodging it. My wife, Emily, had been on my case for months, half teasing, half deadly serious about making time to deal with the place. So, I finally carved out a weekend, packed the SUV with snacks, bug spray, and our son Ethan's handheld gaming console, and we hit the road. As we wound through the tree-lined path toward the lake, a flicker of excitement hit me. That dusty house sat on 3 acres of prime waterfront land. Sure, it had been neglected, but it had solid bones like an old athlete who'd let himself go but could still throw a mean punch. The plan was simple: assess the damage, sketch out a renovation that wouldn't drain our savings, and maybe toss a fishing line in the water. But as we rounded the final curve, my gut twisted. A sleek black BMW was parked in the gravel driveway, with a blue minivan right beside it. I squinted. That wasn't right. No one should be there. My grandfather was long gone, and I hadn't given a single person permission to set foot on that land. Emily leaned forward in the passenger seat. "Mike, is someone living here?" Before I could respond, I caught movement on the deck. 2 women in swimsuits were clinking wine glasses under my grandfather's sagging pergola, their laughter carrying across the yard. A kid in a swimsuit sprinted past with a towel, nearly crashing into Ethan, who was gaping from the back seat. I cut the engine and stepped out, moving slowly, unsure if I was about to stumble into a trespassing mix-up or some bizarre pop-up party. A guy in sandals and a Hawaiian shirt strolled over, all smiles. "Hey, you must be the next guests. Lisa said someone might show up later today." My jaw tightened. "Guests? What guests?" He grinned, undeterred. "This place is great. Lisa P. hooked us up through a private rental site. Said the old owner sold it, and she manages it now for the HOA. He flashed his phone, showing a booking confirmation. The header read, "Lakeside Retreat, managed by Lisa P." My eyes scanned the screen. There was my house-me porch, my rusty grill listed for $275 a night, with weekly discounts. Emily stepped beside me, her voice low. "Mike, this is your house. What's going on?" I didn't answer. I was still processing the absurdity. Lisa P. The name rang a bell. She was the new head of the local HOA, known for sicking the sheriff on anyone whose mailbox leaned an inch too far left. But this? I handed the phone back. "I'm going to need you all to wrap up your stay and be gone by the end of the week." The guy blinked, confused. "Wait, you're not with the rental service?" "No," I said, my voice flat. "I'm the owner. The real one." He gave an awkward laugh. "Lisa said she had the rights." "Yeah," I muttered, heading for the house. "She's about to find out she doesn't." That night, I barely slept. Not because the beds were lumpy, I hadn't even made it that far, but because I was glued to my laptop, eyes stinging as I scoured website after website. There it was, over and over. My house, marketed as a premium lakeside escape, curated by Lisa P., the crown jewel of the HOA's vacation portfolio. Portfolio? Since when did the HOA run a rental empire? The listings were polished professional photos with perfect lighting, drone shots I'd never seen, the lawn greener than a golf course. The shutters were freshly painted a crisp white, and someone had strung fairy lights along the porch railing. My porch. My railing. I clicked on the reviews, and my stomach churned. Dozens of them, stretching back over a year. Amazing retreat. Lisa was a fantastic host. Loved the fire pit. Booking again next summer. One review even called it the flagship of Pineview Shores, HOA's hospitality program. It was like reading a parallel universe where my life was a boutique hotel. The next morning, while Emily took Ethan into town for groceries and a breather, I started calling every rental platform I could find. I rattled off property IDs, listing numbers, everything. Most reps were polite, but vague. Yes, the listings existed. No, they couldn't share details about the host beyond the public profile, Lisa P., elite host. I slammed my laptop shut. By afternoon, I was pacing the property, noticing upgrades I hadn't paid for, solar path lights, a new hose reel, fresh gravel under the deck. Someone had been pouring money into my house, and I had a sinking feeling it wasn't out of charity. Whether Lisa was skimming rental cash or running some HOA-fueled fantasy, it reeked of fraud. Then, as if summoned by my boiling anger, she appeared. I heard the sharp tap of heels on gravel before I saw her. Blonde pixie cut, oversized sunglasses, and a smile so tight it could crack walnuts. Lisa Porter. She didn't even flinch when she saw me. "Oh," she said, shifting her designer tote. "I didn't know you were staying. Check-ins are usually Fridays." I didn't bite. "Cut the crap. This is my house. You're not a realtor, not a managerial trespasser who's been profiting off my property for over a year." Her smile held, but her voice sharpened. "That's a bold claim. I've been maintaining this place in your absence. You abandoned it. The HOA stepped in. I've built a reputation for this property, and I've invested." "My house," I cut in. "You didn't have my permission. You didn't even ask." She shrugged, like I was whining about a missing sock. "No one else complained. I've enhanced community value. The guests love it." "The guests," I muttered. "Yeah, I'll be talking to them. And the sheriff. And a lawyer." That got her. Her lips thinned, her eyes narrowing behind those shades. "That's your right," she said, voice cold. "But HOA policy supports me. The community values what I've done." I stared her down. "We'll see what the law says." She turned and strode off, like she hadn't just confessed to the most brazen heist I'd ever heard of. I stood there, pulse racing, the truth sinking in. This wasn't just trespassing. It was a scheming full-blown resort racket. And it was time to tear it down. The next morning, I got to work. I changed every lock: front door, back door, shed, even the rusty padlock on the boathouse that hadn't budged since the 90s. I installed motion sensor lights, slapped up 8 private property, no trespassing signs, and parked my truck across the driveway like a barricade. Subtlety was over. Lisa had thrown down the gauntlet, and I wasn't playing nice. That afternoon, as I was bolting a new gate latch, I heard tires on gravel. I turned, half expecting a delivery guy, but there she was, Lisa, marching up in a collared shirt with the HOA logo, clutching a clipboard like it was a shield. She was flanked by 2 guys in black polos labeled HOA security. One was popping gum like it was his job. The other wore wraparound sunglasses like he was auditioning for a SWAT team. "Mr. Carter," Lisa called, voice syrupy but strained. "We need access. We have a confirmed reservation checking in at 5. I leaned on the fence post. "No one's checking in. Ever. This property's closed." Gumshoer stepped forward, puffing out his chest. "Sir, you're interfering with HOA operations." "That's a violation." "Violation of what?" I shot back. "I'm not in the HOA. This house never was. You know that." Lisa clicked her pen, scribbling on her clipboard. "That's debatable. We've maintained the grounds. Guests are scheduled. This is about community expectations." "Expectations don't trump ownership," I said. "Unless you've got a court order, you're trespassing. I've got the deed inside and cameras rolling. Test me." Lisa's eyes narrowed. "I'm calling the sheriff. You're denying lawful occupancy." "Please," I said, pulling out my phone. "I've been meaning to say hi." 20 minutes later, a sheriff's cruiser rolled up. A deputy, barely 30, stepped out, hand on his belt, taking in the scene. 3 HOA goons and 1 pissed-off guy with a drill. Lisa launched into her sob story, playing the victim. "This man's blocking access to a rented property. He's threatening HOA staff. He's not even in our directory." The deputy turned to me. I handed over my ID, the deed, and a folder stuffed with screenshots, timestamps, and a notarized letter from my lawyer. He flipped through it, gave a low whistle, and turned to Lisa. "Ma'am, this property belongs to Mr. Carter. No record of a sale, lease, or HOA control. You've got no standing." "But he's interfering," she started. The deputy cut her off. "You're trespassing. One more incident, and I'm writing citations." "Clear." Lisa's face twisted, but she nodded. Her goons shuffled off, and as their SUV peeled out, I exhaled. One battle won. But this was far from over. Lisa was too slick, too practiced. She'd spun a story so convincing she probably believed it herself that she was some saintly caretaker, preserving community value, while I, the deadbeat owner, left the place to rot. And people bought it. She had a 4.8 star rating, for God's sake. So, I decided to turn the tables. I called in a favor from an old college buddy, Ryan Tate, now a corporate lawyer with a knack for blending in. Clean-cut, charming, and the kind of guy who looks like he'd tip 25% even if the service sucked. Perfect for a sting. Ryan posed as a tourist and contacted Lisa P. through one of the rental sites, still listing my house. Her reply was instant, warm, professional, and oddly personal. She called herself a community curator and pitched the house as part of an exclusive HOA lake experience. No mention of me. No disclaimer, nothing to suggest she was just a middleman. She acted like she owned the place. The real gem? She sent Ryan a digital welcome packet, PDF maps, codes to a keypad lock I'd already yanked out, and a limited property access agreement with fancy formatting, a fake notary seal, and a signature I knew too well mine, forged. Ryan forwarded it all to me. It was damning, but we needed more than emails. We needed her caught red-handed. Ryan showed up for check-in on Saturday morning, a hidden GoPro clipped to his jacket. He parked down the road and waited. At 11:15, a white Audi pulled in. A woman with over-bleached hair and a clipboard stepped out, not Lisa, but her sidekick, Tara West, a local realtor who doubled as Lisa's property coordinator. She greeted Ryan like he was royalty. "Welcome. Lisa's tied up at an HOA meeting, but she asked me to get you settled." Ryan played dumb. "So you guys own this place?" Tara beamed. "It's part of the HOA portfolio now. The old owner signed over access years ago, some legal thing. Lisa handles it all." Ryan pressed. "So, this isn't someone else's property?" Tara waved it off. "Oh no, all above board. You're in great hands." Bingo. Fraud, fake ownership claims, and a bald-faced lie, all on video. Tara had walked right into it. After she left, Ryan texted me, "She's toast." I grinned. This wasn't just a nosy neighbor with a side hustle. It was a polished scam, complete with wine tastings and fresh towels. And now, I had the proof to torch it. But something still nagged at me. The house looked too good. New deck stain, a hot tub I'd never seen, landscaping that screamed HGTV. I hadn't spent a cent on this place, so who had? I started digging. I pulled the HOA's public budget reports, those mind-numbing PDFs no one bothers with, and spent 3 nights at the lake house, fueled by cheap bourbon and spite, combing through every line. Then I found it. Under community improvements were entries like pergola restoration, $3,800, lakeside deck upgrades, $8,200, and my favorite, premium hot tub installation, $12,500. There was only one pergola by the lake. Mine. The next day, I called an old work contact, Nate, a contractor who'd done jobs for me back in the city. I gave him the address and asked if he'd worked there. He sent back an invoice addressed to Pineview Shores HOA for my property, signed by Lisa Porter. She'd been funneling HOA funds to doll up my house for rentals, probably pitching it as a shared community asset while pocketing the profits. The string lights, the lawn HOA dues had paid for it all. Then came the bombshell. I got a call from Carl Dunn, a stranger who turned out to be the HOA's former treasurer. He'd heard I was taking on Lisa and wanted to talk. We met at a diner off Route 12, and over soggy fries, he spilled it all. "She forced me out," he said. "I flagged sketchy expenses, funds going to non-HOA properties, invoices that didn't add up. A month later, I was voted out in a backroom meeting. She runs the board like a dictator." He leaned in. "And here's the kicker. She's got a record. Fraud. Some real estate hustle in Arizona, 12 years back. Changed her name to dodge the paper trail. They didn't care. That night, my lawyer ran a background check under her old name, Lisa Morgan. There it was, convicted of wire fraud and falsifying deeds in 2011. Plea deal, mostly buried. But not buried enough. We compiled it all: video, invoices, rental accounts, her rap sheet into a folder labeled Exhibit X. It went down at 2:37 a.m. The thermal camera showed 3 figures, one with a backpack, one with what looked like bolt cutters, and one clutching a clipboard. No way. I peeked through the blinds. There they were, dressed like suburban ninjas in black leggings and tactical vests. Leading the pack was Lisa Porter, in a windbreaker with HOA president in garish font on the back. I hit record on my phone and called 911, loud enough for them to hear. "Hi, this is Mike Carter. I've got 3 trespassers trying to break into my property. One's the HOA president. They've got tools. No, this isn't a prank." Outside, the bolt cutters clanked, and a chain hit the dirt. They were through the gate. Lisa waved a flashlight like she was directing a heist movie. Tara West trailed her, clutching a folder like it was a bomb defusal manual. The third was Greg, one of her HOA security guys, built like a fridge with the IQ of a toaster. They crept past the fish pond, aiming for the deck. Tara whispered, "Is he here?" Lisa hissed back, "Doesn't matter. We're just doing an emergency compliance check." Compliance check? I stepped onto the porch and flicked on the floodlights. 3 startled faces froze. Lisa's clipboard hit the roses. "Evening," I said. "Bit late for a HOA meeting, no?" Greg stopped dead. Tara stumbled back, heels catching in the mulch. Lisa recovered first. "This property's under HOA review," she snapped. "You're obstructing official business. You're breaking and entering," I said. "And there's a sheriff on the way who'd love to chat." Right on cue, headlights flashed. A cruiser pulled up, red and blue lights dancing. Deputy Harris stepped out, squinting. "Lisa, why are you on this man's property at 3 a.m.? She straightened. "Officer, we're investigating community violations." "I have authority," Harris cut her off. "You don't. I've seen the file. This is an HOA land. Unless you're filming a bad spy flick, you're done." Greg raised his hands. "I'm just here to carry stuff." "Like the bolt cutters?" I said. Lisa sputtered. "This property's critical to our image. It's ours in spirit." Harris pulled out cuffs. "Lisa Porter, you're under arrest for trespassing, attempted fraud, conspiracy to commit illegal entry, and me personal favorite bringing a clipboard to a crime scene." As he cuffed her, she shrieked, "This is a smear campaign. I'm the heart of this community." Harris steered her to the cruiser. "And I've got a cell with your name on it. Let's talk." As the lights faded, I stood on my deck in boxers and a robe, sipping my coffee. Not a bad night. The courtroom smelled like wax and bad decisions. Lisa sat at the defense table in a blazer that screamed, "I'm misunderstood," her face a mask of righteous indignation. Tara fidgeted beside her, looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. Greg had flipped, taking a plea to testify. Smart guy. My lawyer, David Holt, was a silver-haired shark who looked like he'd been winning cases since the invention of paper. His stack of files said, "I'm here to bury you." The prosecution laid it out. Video of Tara lying about the house's ownership, HOA invoices for my hot tub, screenshots of Lisa's rental accounts, the forged welcome packet, and the kicker her Arizona fraud conviction under Lisa Morgan. When that hit, the room buzzed. Lisa's lawyer tried to spin it as a good-faith misunderstanding, but David just said, her own words, forged signatures, and criminal history say otherwise. The jury took 3 hours. Verdict: guilty on all counts: trespassing, fraud, falsifying records, misusing HOA funds. Sentence: 1 year probation, 600 hours community service, $90,000 restitution to me, $30,000 in legal fees, and a lifetime ban from HOA rolls. When the judge asked if I had a statement, I stood. "I just want my house back. No tourists, no clipboards, no HOA spies." The bailiff smirked. Lisa didn't. 3 weeks later, we threw a party. No apps, no bookings, just friends, neighbors, and enough burgers to feed a small army. We called it the Unrental Bash. The new HOA board showed up. Lisa's fall had sparked a coup, and her allies were voted out. One neighbor brought a piñata shaped like a clipboard. It didn't last long. The highlight came at dusk. Ethan and I were on a ladder, bolting a new sign to the gate. Emily handed me a beer as a crowd gathered to read it. Private property. Not for rent. Not for HOA. If your name is Lisa, keep walking. In smaller print, trespassers will feed the fish. The cheers were deafening. Someone blasted "Sweet Home, Alabama." Even Deputy Harris swung by for a photo with the sign. As the lake glowed under the stars, I sank into a chair, looking at my house. No strangers in the hot tub, no forged leases, no HOA goons in the shadows. Just family, peace, and a fairy light I'd actually picked out. And if Lisa ever showed her face again, the fish were starving.